in this session, we will discuss about the introduction to literature. Since this is an introduction, we need to tackle the very fundamental notion about literature. So first, we need to identify what is literature. So let's describe what is literature. So, literature. Etymologically, the term derives from Latin litera, which literally means writing formed with letters, or it is an acquaintance with letters. It is a body of work containing imaginative language. So literature is a body of work, either written, oral, or visual, which contains imaginative language. This language realistically portrays the thoughts of the writer, emotions, and experiences of the human condition. It is a product of particular culture. This concretizes man's array of values, emotions, actions, and ideas. In a literature, it gives us an opportunity to know better, to understand, to comprehend other cultures all around the globe. It is therefore a creation of human experiences that tells about people and their world. It is the art that reflects the work of imagination. This is very important, the imagination of a person while writing or while creating his masterpiece. Aesthetics in creative writing, which are distinguished for the beauty of style and expression. Literature is one of the most interesting and significant expressions of humanity. Why do you think there is a need for us to study literature? What is the importance of literature then? Okay, so I'll just give you some of the importance of literature. There are a lot of reasons that pushes us to study about literature, but I will just mention some. So first is expanding horizons. Literature opens our eyes and makes us see more than just what the front door shows. It helps us realize the wide world outside surrounding us, because with the use of the different written outputs of the different authors all around the globe, all around the world, it gives us this wonderful notion of beauty, wonderful notion of artistry from these different perspectives. With this, we begin to learn, ask questions, and build our intuitions and instincts. We expand our minds by just reading a literature, by just engaging in literary works. Next, building critical thinking skills. I know all of us wants to have this skill, this critical thinking skill. So when we read, we learn to look between the lines. The more you read, the more you think critically. We are taught to find symbols, make connections, find themes, and learn about characters. Reading expands these skills. The more we read, the more these skills improve. The more we grasp deeper meaning with the things that we are reading. And we begin to look at the sentence with a larger sense of detail and realize the importance of hidden meanings so that we may come to a conclusion. So we become critical thinkers. So if you want to become a critical thinker, then you need to start reading now. Any kind of literature, as long as it hones your mind, then you start reading it seriously, carefully. Okay, next, a leap into the past. History and literature are intertwined with each other. History is not just about power struggles, wars, names and dates. Sige lang tagi, guys, ito history nga si Magellan, gipatay ni Kuan, and all and all. It is not just about wars. It is not just about the struggles back then, but it is about people who are products of their time with their own lives. Without literature, we would not know about our past. And the people who came before and walked on the same ground as us. So we are given the opportunity to know the past, to venture in the things that had happened in the past. Studying literature is like looking at the mirror of life where man's experiences, his innermost feelings and thoughts are reflected. So through literature, we learn the culture of people across time and space. So that will lead us to the next one, appreciation for other cultures and beliefs. Reading about history, anthropology, religious studies, and any other books related to the beliefs and cultures of other races, it provides a method of learning about cultures and beliefs other than our own. It allows us to understand and experience these other systems of living in other worlds. By just reading, you can understand them, you can comprehend, you can empathize, you can sympathize with them. We get a view of the inside looking out, a personal view and insight into the minds and reasoning of someone else. We can learn, we can understand, and when we understand, we start to appreciate. Because if we can't understand something, we cannot appreciate that something. So in order for us to appreciate, we need to understand first. Next, better writing skills. If you want to have this skill, if you want to improve in your writing skills, start reading now. Engage in reading. When you open a book, when your eyes read the words and you take in its contents, please ask yourself, how did this person imagine and write this? So while you're reading, you put your shoe in that person who are writing the one that you're reading. Well, many of those authors, poets, and playwrights use literature to expand their writing. So you start feeling or just put your shoes in the writer's shoes while you read the writings he or she had written. So the more you read, new vocabularies will be added in your mind, new words, new terms, and you can use those different terms in your communication with other people. So just gather and then apply. But if you gather and you don't apply, then it will be forgotten. So once you acquire something, do your best to apply it so that it will remain as a skill, it will remain as a knowledge in your system. Next, addressing humanity. All literature, whether it be poems, essays, novels, or short stories, it helps us address human nature and conditions which affect all people. These may be the need for growth, doubts and fears of success and failure, the need for friends and family, the goodness of compassion and empathy, trust, or the realization of imperfection. We learn that imperfection is not always bad and that normal can be boring. We learn that life must be lived to the fullest. We need literature in order to connect with our own humanity. But dear students, please be careful with the literatures that you're reading. We would really encourage you to choose those books that will really help you grow in your academic endeavor. Those books that will really hone your ability to think critically, those books that will enhance your vocabulary. This moment, I want you to know the literary standards. When we say about literary standards, these are set of characteristics. These set of characteristics are considered as standard or guidelines in knowing if your work is literary or not. So these standard or these criteria was written or was made by William J. Long. First is universality. Are you familiar with this word? Okay, universality. Here, literature appeals to everyone. This is one of the standard, The literature appeals to everyone, regardless of culture, race, gender, or time. If it appeals to everyone, then check siya sa universality. Next is artistry. Here, literature has an aesthetic appeal and thus possess a sense of beauty. If it gives a sense of beauty, then check siya sa artistry. That is one of the guidelines or the standard or the characteristic of a beautiful literary piece. Next is intellectual value. Here, literature stimulates critical thinking. Since it's intellectual, it stimulates critical thinking that enriches mental processes of abstraction and reasoning, making man realize the fundamental truth of life and its nature. So it gives an impact to those people who are reading that specific written output. So it stimulates the mind to think critically, to give reasons, to process, to reflect. That is intellectual value. Next is suggestiveness. Literature unravels and conjures man's emotional power to define symbolisms, implied meanings, images, and messages, giving and evoking visions above and beyond the plane of ordinary life and experience. So, suggestiveness gives us implied meanings. So, we use different symbolisms, images that gives implied meanings, implied notions that will evoke visions, that will give extraordinary life to that plain, ordinary experience. Next is spiritual value. Literature elevates the spirit and the soul, and thus has the power to motivate and inspire, drawn from the suggested morals or lessons of the different literary genres. So here, this is very important. One of the things I'm looking in a written piece or in an artwork is the lesson I can gain from it. So every time I read, I always look on the power of motivation and inspiration that the writer had put into his written piece. Okay, the morals there, all the lessons that we can get, that is very important in literature. That is one of the standards, one of the criteria we need to follow in writing a literature. Next is permanence. Literature endures across time, is timeless, the timelessness of a specific literature. So permanence. So example, the Bible, it was written many years ago, but still we can gain knowledge from it. We can gain lessons. We can gain standard of living in that specific book, in the Bible. So it is timeless. The timelessness of a specific literary piece, that is one of a very good characteristic of a very good literary piece. It endures across time. So it occurring at a particular time, but the impact remains invariable throughout the time. Next is, and last, this is the last one, style. Literature presents peculiar ways on how man sees life, as evidenced by the formation of his ideas, forms, structures, and expressions, which are marked by their memorable substance. So each person has his or her own style. So we cannot unify all of the literary pieces because all of us is unique. We have different styles when we write. We have different styles when we think of something, and we have different styles in implementing those plans we have in our mind. So do not compare yourself with others because you are unique. You are special in your own way. So these are the 7 literary standards, and if you have the 7, then rest assured that specific written output you are making is a very good literary work. Okay, again, let's recall what are the 7 standards that we need to have. Okay, first is universality, next artistry, third intellectual value, fourth suggestiveness, fifth spiritual value, next is permanence, next is style. Okay, thank you for listening, my dear students. I hope that you have learned something from this presentation.